Hello and welcome to the Winners Find a Way show. I am your host, Trent M. Clark. I am a Bloom Growth coach, a serial entrepreneur, CEO of Leadershipity. I am also the president of EO West Michigan and wrote a book called Leading Winning Teams. And of course, did a TEDx talk called The Pain Exchange. And most people probably know me, besides speaking all over the world, as the coach who spent 12 years in the major leagues and coached in 3 World Series. And so on the Winners Find a Way show today, I'm super excited to have my guest, Gary Thrapp, youth sports advocate, owner of Beyond the Baseline out there in the Quad Cities in Iowa. So we brought you from the frozen tundra today, Gary. How's things?
It is slowly warming up, so that's pretty exciting. We may actually reach 38 today, so that's a good thing.
For people who don't know, that's shorts and t-shirt weather in Iowa right
Right,
now. So
absolutely.
this is, I know 38 sounds a little cold to you Southerners, but after you've seen minus 20, it's a 58-degree, upswing, right? So it's a big change.
Right, exactly. I actually coached for a little while a young lady from Alaska that couldn't wait to go back home because it wasn't cold enough here in the middle of winter, if you can believe that.
Yeah, not cold enough. Not cold enough said nobody ever around me, right? So things no one has ever said. Gary, excited to have you. University of Iowa grad, so you're a Hawkeye or University of Iowa student, Quad Cities guy, but you grew up not in the Quad Cities. You grew up just south of Iowa City out in Wellman, which for most people who don't know, and he's outside of Wellman. So this is farm country. This is what you think of when you think of Iowa. That's where Gary was at. All right.
Yeah.
When you think of Iowa.
Yeah, we watch things grow slowly over time. So that puts it in perspective.
Well, what I love about everyone who's ever lived on a farm is they really understand patience, right?
Oh.
They really understand reap what you sow. They understand there's these foundational principles that actually happen. And no matter how motivated you are, you will not rush that crop. You will not, harvest your cattle or anything else fast. Everything takes time. And so I love that about that. 4 kids, married, sweetheart. You met at Iowa, right?
Yeah, I met her at Iowa. We decided whoever got a job first, we would move to that location. So we're in the Quad Cities where she grew up, if that tells you anything.
Yeah. So she was motivated to get that job back in your home and
Yeah.
get home and she beat you to it. So you're an author of some books here, The Wild World of Youth Sports, which I love. Growing up with the wide world of sports, I immediately, really just that title really landed with me because of, the agony of defeat, all those, the beginning of that. But the wild world of youth sports, because I am an NIL guy, man, this has come to fruition for the youth sports, and it's crazy. And then, of course, 2 children, the 2 children's books, the Freddie series. Freddie loves sports. Freddie loves basketball. Really getting those kids in about sportsmanship and understanding what really sports about.
Yeah, it's so important to start at an early age. And then, of course, if you want to get kind of ahead of the competition, get the edge, start helping your kids learn concepts of youth sports early, like teamsmanship, purpose, like work ethic, being thankful. So many different things that we can start teaching kids at an early age while checking out some pictures of a mouse playing sports. So
yeah,
another great opportunity to teach.
And you own Beyond the Baseline, pretty large youth sports facility. You host a lot of things, tournaments, all sorts of stuff. Primarily basketball, volleyball.
We primarily do basketball, volleyball. We do here in next month, we'll do our annual Give It a Try event. It's a free program for kids who don't have a lot of opportunity to try new sports. So we do that as well. Do a lot of community events as well to try to reduce violence in communities. So try to hit a lot of different needs that we see in our community at our facility.
Yeah, going at the pro level game, I mean, I really found that sports was the outlet for a lot of folks, right? It was a lot of I needed to get off the streets. I needed to get back to what was important. Had coaches, mentors, people around the sport that really served me and helped me stay the course. And the lessons keep going, right? In leading winning teams, this was really one of my focus in that book that I wrote with Wiley, which was people do all these sports and there's so many lessons, and these pro athletes would come and be like, well, I don't have any skills now because I was a pro athlete for 8 years, and now what do I do? I'm like, what do you mean you don't have any skills, bro? Like you were like the king of adaptability. You are the king
Yeah.
of like feedback and coachability. You're the king of like competitiveness. And you have all these skills of dealing with people in different environments and geography, and you traveled and like, they're like, oh, is that important in the work world? Like, yeah, like this is gonna serve you in a big way. And teammanship, right? Like you say, like understanding that environment for being back in a coaching in a corporate environment is so important. And I think everybody's so focused on the skills, right, and what it takes to be there. Sometimes they're missing the lesson.
Absolutely, and that's one thing you'll find so often in, professional athletics is they are so laser focused for the requirements that they need to develop to become that professional athlete. Plan B isn't there necessarily, whether they need it or not. And still being very successful, obviously. But what we try to do while we're developing those NBA stars at the third grade level is help them develop a plan B, C, or even probably a plan A, since most of them won't be NBA players. So, how
Yeah.
can we keep that excitement and that possibility in their mind while we teach them those values in life so they're ready to go any direction possible that they need to on the spot?
Yeah, I'm super excited about, I've been excited for a while about the NIL world because I'm an entrepreneur, right? And the monetization and feasibility of all the work and effort. I really like that idea. I've always liked the NCAA's campaign of, most of these athletes are going pro in something else, right? Like
Yeah,
there's 580,000 of them, and 10 may get a chance, 10,000 may get a chance to like go on and do something. So like there's 570,000 other athletes that are not, right? And so, focusing on the fact, and I think we've kind of got away from that. Like I just remember feeling I was a two-sport Division 1 athlete. I remember feeling how blessed I was to have the money that I was getting to earn towards that college. And you'll get a kick out of this. I remember a professor just really on me about like, you're missing a lot of class and this and that. Like, if you want to be a serious student and be taken seriously, you're gonna have to get to class. And I'm like, hey, that like every absence I have is because of my schedule here as an athlete, right? Like I'm
right.
not intentionally choosing to miss your class. You have my schedule. This is how this works. And she's like, well, maybe sports are too much for you. And I was like, oh, yeah, that could be true. I said, except if I stop doing the sport, I don't get to come to class because I don't have any money for the class.
Yeah,
Do you know how this whole thing works? Like and this is like, a college professor. And I was so frustrated by it, man. I was
yeah.
just like, hey, man, how do you think? And boy, I got to tell you, hiring college athletes has just been a game changer for a lot of organizations because man, they understand time management, they understand deadlines, they really understand team, they understand personal responsibility, accountability. I use the acronym a lot, Gary, the card, right? I really want some aces, and if I have the cards, coachability, adaptability, and then they take responsibility and they do that over and over again, proving dependability, we got us some winners, right? Like we can build some organization around those four things. And the college kids seem to grab those four things. What have you seen?
Well, what I obviously see being focused so much on the youth level aspect of everything is how that is filtering down to the youth. And right now in the youth world, what's king is money, the money aspect of it, not necessarily,
Yeah.
and grabbing it, maybe not so much in a positive way. And that's the
Yes.
difficult part because the experts looking for the money are the ones that you hear the most from. Okay. Now, it's one thing to be a college and a university with a lot of rapport and, uh, has a history. But now imagine a young coach that's just getting started that gets involved in a sport just to grab money from people so they can survive. So there's a little bit different process there, and that
Yeah.
makes it so challenging. And where are we going to be in the youth sports world in 20 years with everything that's filtering down? And I love the fact that people can make money, no doubt about it. That's a great thing about the world. We all look for it, right? What does that mean at the youth sports level? That's the
Yeah.
big question I have, because I see on a daily basis the challenges that we already have. So it'll be interesting, no doubt.
Yeah, and money's going to change the dynamics, right? Because
Yeah,
now it's like you're not getting Ted Davis, father of three, to coach the JV basketball team because, hey, listen, if we're not providing, $10,000 of NIL to the kids, we can't like. So wait, what? Like, what are
yeah,
we talking about? Like, it's a whole like it's fast becoming a business. My example of that is, we started an NIL education company because I have a passion for two big things, probably three big things, right, in this world, which is from a professional standpoint, which is pro sports and then I would think like excellence and productivity and being the best, reaching potential, and then entrepreneurship. And so like NILs really combine these really nicely at the collegiate level. And I was excited about it in 2021 when things went and we started our brand. And at that time, 13 states allowed youth sports to benefit from NIL. And I think, if I look at that, Gary, I would have probably thought New York and LA, where you had some film and production and a lot of arts and things like that, where kids were doing stuff and making money. And I think the other 11, just like what's New York and California doing? I don't know if they had any reason for it other than we just kind of follow a state and we just took on their mandate, right? Well, I think that number now is 42 states.
yeah, yeah,
And it's like, wow. So everybody's adopted this. Michigan just went legal like 2 weeks ago.
it did.
Big holdout, right? And we're still seeing, I think Texas is still a holdout. I think Florida's still a holdout. And there are a lot of youth athletes, very well recruited down there in both those areas. And I just, it's going to be wild, man.
Yeah.
It's a wild world of youth sports, man. It just got
Um,
wild.
yeah, imagine being in a situation where you have a youth program that does go around the Midwest or even coast to coast with their kids.
Yep.
Now, and now they're calling up an event coordinator and saying, "Hey, I got the top 10 person in the Midwest here on one of my teams. What are you going to pay me to bring him over to your facility to attract a crowd?"
Uh,
Like, that's where we may be headed, right?
yes. Yes.
And
That is
because
totally where we're probably headed, right?
because I see in my own small little world here, being involved in youth sports from a facility ownership standpoint, the egos involved from a parental standpoint. They almost want paid just to get you on their 18. Oh,
Yeah.
what do I get for this? Well,
Yeah.
hopefully a child that's ready to take on the world.
Yeah.
Oh, what do you mean?
Yeah. Have you
So,
seen, yeah, I want to get into this. And I got to think about the team for a second here, but we're going to come back to this for a second. Really quickly, I want to share, GaryThrapp.com, how they can get a hold of you, Gary T at beyondthebaseline.net. Um, you've been very available for parents, youth sports, talk about these. These are real challenges. And I wish probably more directors would call a guy like you or myself to understand, like, man, this is not easy to stay the focus, right, on what matters and what doesn't, right?
yeah.
But what do you, when people call you and start asking you questions, what's the first one or two questions that everybody wants to know about youth sports?
Boy, the tough part is I don't get a lot of calls in that respect because most everybody's an expert at it already.
Just ask them.
Just ask them, especially in the basketball world. If we
Mm,
watch the NBA for long enough growing up, then all of a sudden we know how to develop a third grader because we
yeah.
just watched them play, right? And so then the tough part is because when we see highlight reels all day long, when we see the best, and that's what we're focused on in professional athletics, compete,
Yep.
then we may not have any clue how to develop a player because we see just the highlights. We don't see the constant daily regiment that it took and focus to get there and the routine. We don't see that part. We see the highlights. So don't get a ton of questions other than, do you have a spot on a team? Our great families are so focused so much on surviving each and every day, which is obviously important, then they just hear about a team and they got to get their kid onto it because without even doing any searching for, well, is it a good coach? Do they have the same values that you do? So, I mean, there are so many aspects to this process that, we could talk for hours about every different element of it. Man, it's so challenging, and you got to be ready for anything. There is no doubt about it.
Yeah, I think anything is like you're seeing things that is uncanny, right? And man, logic is kind of out the door, right? And I'm watching this looking at the strategy. And what I've noticed is like the strategy of baseball is losing its edge, right? We have really talented players who actually don't fully understand how the game's played anymore because they don't measure that anymore. They don't measure the strategy, the game, learning it, knowing the insides and out. They measure, exit velocity and, like these things. And like, they're nice things to know and great. They're a metric, but that's just it. It's just one metric. And, exit velocity actually never proves any value. Like if I have an exit velocity of something crazy like 120 miles an hour, but I only hit it 1 in 100 times, like it doesn't really matter, right? Like, because I really just don't ever make contact, right? So that's really not going to ever serve you as a quality player, but this is what we want to measure, right? And I could probably, if I were a youth kid who had exit velocity 100, I could get a college scholarship right now just sending that metric. Because, a coach would be like, well, Gary, I could teach him how to hit, like, oh, okay, we'll see. I don't know if you've seen a swing this bad, but super strong kid who will hit the snot out of it ever makes contact, like, is that really like what we're going for? Because we have very low sports IQ and we're definitely losing the character part of what I think is so important in sports of the big lessons.
Oh, absolutely. Because we don't understand the development side of it and the process side of it, we so often, as young parents, young coaches, determine whether we're heading in a good direction based on whether we won the last game over the weekend. That decides if we're in a good situation or not. The wins and losses are just so valuable. And it's understandable because most people have their careers that they're involved with. They don't have a lot of time to do that research. And that's something I did when I first started out as a parent and decided to get into more coaching with my kids, is that I took that time to read books, to watch videos, to go to coaching clinics, to find out what the heck is going on and how can I use my time and energy wisely with my kids. And
I think one of the challenges, I want to talk one thing about this. We talked to Gary Thrapp here from Beyond the Baseline out in Davenport, Iowa. We're talking about youth sports. He's a big advocate of this, written a number of books, including The Wide World of Youth Sports. And what most people don't know about Gary is that, he's currently getting most of his relationship and, learnings from fourth grade girls. So it's nice. And recently you were clipped. You were clipped for the first time.
Yeah, I was clipped at our last volleyball tournament. I wasn't sure whether the kids were getting more exercise playing the sport of volleyball or running around in the gym clipping people with little laundry clips that have messages on them. And it's just amazing watching them do that. So so I got clipped, and actually it was by a 14-year-old, and she told me when I looked at it that will help calm me down. So I wear my clip all the time.
Okay, it'll help calm you down. What was the message on your clip from your? What does it say? Stay calm.
It says, "I dig your hair," as they clip it on my hair.
Nice. I think it's funny. So these kids are doing it a little bit like stealthy, right? They're doing
Yeah.
it so you don't know you've been clipped, right? Like
Right.
all of a sudden you see later, and this is on your shirt edge or your
Yeah.
bag or whatever. And I love this message. I mean, for the cool effort of that is I love like the football players who use the biblical verse in their eye black and stuff like that to send a
Yeah.
message. It's always another clever way to send a message. Hopefully, they're good messages, right? Like we're
So
getting
far,
better.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
but I
far,
really
all of them
like
I've found.
well, and I really like the idea that these kids are intentional, right? Like you got to do some prep work on that. You got to get your bag together. You got your messages all together. You want it to be unique, and it's usually positive, right? It's
Yeah.
inspiration.
Yeah. You know what? If you think in the big picture of the business world, what
Yeah,
came to me while all this was happening is who uses laundry clips for anything else now?
yeah,
And if I'm a business manager saying, "Hey, I've got a garage full of these laundry clips. How can I get rid of them?" Maybe I'll do a couple TikTok videos for kids
yeah,
clipping, and voila, we have sales.
yeah, yeah. They're my potato chip clips at my house. I don't actually buy the actual chip clips. That
Right.
now is a professional thing. I just buy laundry, right? 'Cause this is what I have a
Right.
lot of. So, let's talk about like this youth movement, the NIL, the money, and I know so many coaches like myself, and I think I will tell you this that people think that they know the pro team, they know what's going on. I'm like, you don't know anything. Like about 15 to 20% of what you see on TV. Like there is so much going on behind the scenes that until you're inside that organization you don't have any idea. And so, the fans are always upset that the organization doesn't listen to me as a fan. Like that's because we don't listen to people with 20% of the information on anything. It's not personal. It's like, hey, if I wanted to start a youth facility and I only know 20% about that, I probably shouldn't start that until I go talk to a guy like Gary Thrapp, who's already done this, who's done what I want to do, get super educated about it, learn the ins and outs of this, and then get an 80% capacity to know what's about to happen as I open this up, marketing, what I'm going to need. And the one thing that continually kind of comes back to me is so many good coaches are done doing it because of the parents. I love the kids, really enjoy it. I've always liked it. I just won't be doing it anymore because I'm done with the parents.
Yeah, I find that as a challenge sometimes, but I'm over it, right?
Yeah,
I have my approach that is a very positive, very future-oriented approach of how can we help kids go from point A to point B in a very positive, structured way. And I have great ways of working with parents that may not be uh, keen on the best approach. And obviously, the thing about youth sports is it's easy to quit.
yeah,
So you can be the best coach ever and do the right thing. Well, I'm going to quit and go to this team because I like the way they do it better, whether it's
yeah,
right or wrong.
yeah,
So that's the difficult part now. And quite honestly, with the NIL and the collegiate level, look at all the transfers now. One
yeah,
of my least favorite things to do is to watch a college game and hear from the announcer the three different schools the kid's been to. I mean,
yeah,
I don't care.
yeah, yeah, right,
We're
right,
watching
right,
their
right.
game.
Yeah, it's tough, right? It's like, man, and what is it saying? Like, it's if they say, "Hey, here comes Trent Clark, flanker here on the national champion Indiana football team who started at West Virginia, spent a time at Auburn, and now he's at Indiana." Like, was something wrong with West Virginia? No. Like the coach didn't like the way I wore my socks, so I had to
Yeah.
transfer. Now the other challenge in this is that one of the things that everybody loves to talk about the success of the portal, but the last time I checked, I think only 32% of the kids actually got out of the portal. So there's a bunch of college kids who have worked their whole youth sport life to be at university, and they're like going, I don't like Coach Trent. He's hard on me. Like he's super like he wants me to be at practice at time every day. Like this is crazy. I need to get out of here and I want to do something else. And then there's this 78% or 68% that don't land something. Like now what are you going to do? You lost your scholarship. The university that you're at's unlikely to return you because you're like told them, I don't like you anyway, and you've entered the portal, and they're looking to shore up in the portal for your replacement or a recruit. So now they've likely given away your scholarship money or anything that you have, and we're not talking about that dark side ever.
Yeah.
And so there's a bunch of these dark sides that people don't know, and I get it, like they only know what they know. But I'm having challenges with that right now. Let's talk another challenge in the game because this is kind of on that NIL flavor, right? You've seen these super youth teams, right? And we've seen this in baseball with Perfect Game. Perfect Games come on, they've ranked the kids and da da da. Like it's very showcase, and your kid too can be a showcase baseball player if you'll have the right $250. He doesn't have to be good, but if you got the money, like he's a showcase kid. So what you see a team, and I don't know if you're familiar with. Have you seen the Pottstown team in baseball? Have you heard of Pottstown?
No.
So Pottstown is a YouTube team, and they are sweeping the country at all these tournaments, and they come in and they beat teams, 42-0, and they hit 17 home runs, and their eighth grade team looks like a minor league baseball team. They're all 6 foot. They get the best of the best, and they're giving these kids cleats and shoes, and they're all mic'd up, and they're all hitting home runs and what we call pimping a home run, right? Like you hit it and do your little side dance step, and it's all for the cameras. And meanwhile, this team on the other side is getting beat by 18 runs, and someone's got to do a backward run around the bases after hitting a home run because that's what's going to get clicks on their YouTube channel. It's terrifying, Gary.
Yeah.
If I don't know. Kids are talented, like super talented. Coaches are good coaches. They know the sport. Um, the whole media thing is off the rails for me. What's your thought on it?
Well, what I see is can be a little bit different approach. Is a coach a really good recruiter of talent at the youth level, and then just sits back and watches the best players play and takes all the credit for it?
Yeah.
Or is a coach a developer? Now you can be both. There's no doubt about it. But man, have I ever seen coaches at the youth level that I don't think develop very well be so proud of themselves and such big talkers because they're good recruiters of talent. And they don't necessarily help them go to that next level. And so that's where I try to identify those guys that will take kids at any aspect of their life and help them get better from point A to point B, the developers out there. But if you could find both, a couple of my kids have been recruited to be on another team, when they were in the youth sports world. And did they develop any more skill than where they were at? No, not necessarily. They might have been on better teams and went and played better and, better competition. But that wasn't all they needed. So if I see a great team of great players, I might focus a little bit more time on the parents that may be doing the work to get them there. And you understand what I'm saying? So I don't put too much value on the awesome teams out there that are playing necessarily. That's important. I don't mind that because that can help a child take that next step, but it may not be the perfect situation.
Yeah, that's good. Now let's talk about let's kind of roll that into developing your success map, right? You wrote this book. This is your first book.
Yeah.
And you saw these kids, and I have like a couple things that I do with kids. I love the Oak Journal. I love the Finishers Journal. I love kids that get focused and prioritize what's really important. And I do a lot of college talks like you do, and and I tell a lot of kids if they want to be in the pole position for success at 30 years old, like you're 21, 22, you're a college grad, this is it. You've got some skills you developed there. You've got some learnings, but that discipline of how you attack every day and how you prepare yourself and how you manage relationships and how you continue each day following through on what's important, and the gratitude of everything people have done for me. I'm looking at my oak journal right now, and you're starting the day with gratitude. My vision for today is the three most important things I just have to accomplish today. Today at a glance, what does my calendar look like? Where am I expected to be? I'm expected at 9 a.m. to be on a call with Gary, and we're gonna record a show and all these things. We're doing that, and we're holding ourselves accountable and planning for that. Talk to me about what you've seen in the development of that success map over a decade old, right?
Yeah, it's really goes to the fundamentals of who we are as individuals, and it tries to help our young people really focus, look in the mirror, and say, "Hey, what's your purpose in life?" Something we can all, benefit from. And I'm still looking at mine that I first did back in 1990. I'm constantly evaluating my direction in life. So I try to, plant those seeds as early as second and third grade with kids that come to our gym about, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? What's your purpose? What
Yeah.
interests you? And then, talk about what's most important to them, help them have that concept of dreams. What's your dream? Turn those into yearly and monthly goals, and then take action on it. Now let's drop it down to daily steps to take action to satisfy your values and to achieve your dreams. And knowing when you start planting those seeds in an early age, boy, that can help a child go a variety of different directions. How many kids do you know that their dreams, as it turns out, was maybe a parent's dream for their kid that didn't pan out for the parent?
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah, I think that happens a lot, right?
Yeah,
There's not an alignment around what I really want and what my mom or dad wants for me,
yeah.
right? You know,
I
because
had
that's
I had a I had a college coach, one of our local college coaches tell me one time, that his 6'8" power forward on his college basketball team, and he said if he only wanted it as bad as his dad did, he'd be a better player. But he didn't wanna play. He was only doing it because his dad wanted him to. He
yeah.
was an art student. I mean, what do you do with that?
Yeah. No, I by the way, been there, lived this, by the
Yeah,
way. When you have a talented athletes in your kids and this and that, and at a very young age, I told them, like, you don't have to do what I did. I don't think my success in sports served my kids at all, because everyone is always asking them, "Well, you think you'll be like your dad?" No, they don't need to be like me. They're their own person, you know. And the point of being the best you can be at whatever you want to do is really important to me. And I learned very early, like, I can't want it for them. Like, I can want it, but like that doesn't mean anything. Like, you've got to want it. I can't want it for you. So you either go and do the work and love it like I did. Like, I loved it. Like, I didn't, when people look back at, like, the person who has some success in athletics, they think like, man, what a sacrifice. And you do. You choose some things that maybe other kids that age didn't do. It never felt like a sacrifice to me, right? Like, oh man, I didn't get to go to the movies Friday night with my girlfriend because I was out playing or training or whatever. Like, yeah, I would have liked to have done that, but I'm only gonna be able to do that one night a week, not 4 nights a week, because I've got other commitments and I'm focused in on some other things. And that was just the reality of the deal. And I just never thought like missing other high school teams playing something or missing a party was a big sacrifice for me. Like, yeah, I didn't love it all the time. There's times I certainly would have rather have been there, but like my mentality is like, I love what I'm doing, man. I want to be out on that court, on that field, on that, rink, like whatever. I want to be out there in the game. And that's where I find my joy. And that's not for everybody. I think that's okay, right? And
absolutely.
where do you find that? Where do you find your purpose and your joy? And you do have these given skills. And if you're a great artist, like, how do I develop that? And that's fabulous. Like, please do that. And I think it's a real challenge for kids. Um, what do you think when you talk about developing your success map in that book? Where do you think kids get tripped up most?
I think they get tripped up by not being asked what's important to them. And
Hmm.
they assume they're supposed to follow this, or they're being told they're supposed to do it this way
Yeah.
necessarily. Now, obviously, that can be good parenting. But what I try to do as a coach and as a parent is ask a lot of questions. While I'm leading my own life, my wife and I are in a very positive, uh, action oriented way, doing the right thing, trying to make good decisions, trying to be good to people. While that process is happening and kids are seeing that, I ask them, what do you want to do in life? I ask them a lot of questions and then give them space to answer. Uh,
Hmm.
no different than playing in a game. I'm
Yeah.
not I'm not lecturing them during a game on what they should and shouldn't do when they make mistakes, or if I think they could do better. I'm asking questions. Hey, what did you see when you made that play? What do you think happened?
Yeah.
And when you put kids in that powerful position to think and to speak for themselves, all of a sudden, as an adult, you may get the edge on what you can do to help them take that next step.
Yep.
Because,
Good.
as you know, when you've been coaching kids for as long as I have, I know when the light switch goes off. I mean, I'm still seeing coaches at the third, fourth, fifth grade level lecturing for 15 minutes after a game. And then you know what I'll do as a joke to myself? I'll ask a kid, hey, what did your coach say? They might have one word out of 15 minutes that they heard.
Yep.
I mean, that's where I think we're can improve a little bit as adults. But that's what I like to do is ask a lot of questions of kids and let them answer them. Give them time so you see how the mind's working.
Yeah, I love that. Let's talk a little bit about the change. And you and I are in that same era, right? Where um we were coming out 80s, early 90s, and I felt like there was a pretty there was a pretty narrow path in the direction I wanted to go. And what was great about that as I look back is that there was a lot of alignment in people around me that saw that. They didn't all agree with it, but there was alignment like, well, if you want to do that, this is what you have to do. And and I heard the press from um pastors, teachers, parents, and there was a pretty consistent and congruent message of alignment there. I think we're far from that today. There are so many talking heads, like,
Mm.
and I don't know if you know, any youth is so great at discernment, right? I don't think that's probably our gift as young men and women because we have a lot going on, and we get that gift of discernment by our errors, right? Like we're like, going, well, I'm never gonna hang out with that friend again, like, so we get that from usually poor experiences, and they shape us and all this. But like, these kids have information overload,
Mm.
and it's all going in different directions. You should play for this team. You should be getting a deal with Pepsi now that you're 14 and score 30 points a game. And there's just all this noise, and I don't expect that kids have changed a lot in having this great discernment. But isn't it going to be a superpower for them to move ahead in this environment?
This is a tough one, as you suggest. When we grew up, as an example, if there was a fight in town by
Yeah.
two kids that you knew,
Yeah.
you probably, and it happened on a Friday afternoon, you probably wouldn't hear about it until maybe Monday or Tuesday of school.
Hmm.
Now you watch it on video and you're laughing about it immediately. And then you're getting when you see that happen and then having now adults watching it happen. I mean, and then being okay with it. And then afterwards, having the kids talk about, hey, what just happened? And I'm going to kick his, you know what, next time. I mean, the power of social media and the mental health issues we have, our young kids have, it's just information overload. What we are exposing our young people to is unacceptable.
Yeah.
In 5 to 10 second increments. So now, if you take a young person that's been looking at their phone for hours during a day, and then you then say, hey, let's set that thing down and come out and give effort for an hour, they look at you like, huh? If they don't have proper parenting or proper leadership. And that's a tough one. And
Yeah.
we've tried to focus on kids now at our gym that, there's a huge opportunity gap in society. If you have a lot of money, there's opportunity out there for you to be on a team.
Yeah.
If you don't, then there's not as much opportunity. So we're working with kids that have, same challenges that rich kids have, but yet could even have added challenges based on, some of their upbringing. And it's amazing what we're exposing our kids to. You can't make this stuff up.
Yeah.
And now having their attention for 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes is not an easy one. So what does that mean from a competitive standpoint? If I'm a parent of a child, what do you think I do to that phone? I'm setting it way over there and you're not looking at it. And I can bypass a lot of better competition out there that are staring at their phones all day. So you can look at that a variety of different ways.
Yeah, yeah, it's gonna become a major advantage, right? It
Mhm.
can be used for it. Yeah, I think Australia passed a law that kids cannot have a smartphone until they're 16, cannot be on social media. And I was like, "A law? Like, this is what we had to do, like, we had to pass a law." And I
Yeah.
was like, I mean, I don't love the overarching, "This is what's best for everybody" kinda thing. I don't always love that, but I'm glad someone's adulting. Like, we see all the statistics, we know the numbers, and we're ignoring the data, right? We're ignoring the data of how actually impactful and poor this is for our children. And I commend them for taking an action, right? I think that's a big deal. And in the better part of valor, I think it's aligned with what's really going to help their kids. I don't think these 10-year-olds running around with TikTok and, all these different social medias is a good idea. I mean, these kids are addicted to phones and screens before they're, 7 years old. And it's going to get tougher and tougher.
It,
And
re- it really is. And what I try to emphasize to parents is that don't wait for a law to be passed. Don't
yeah,
wait for the experts in the room to tell you this is bad. I mean, you
yeah,
could tell it is. So make good decisions, keep your kids off this stuff, know what they're exposed to. It's no different than when we grew up. You know, if your parents said, "Who you hanging with?" and it wasn't
yeah,
necessarily a bad person. I mean, now what are you looking at?
yeah.
And so
Yeah,
we have
who
to
are
do
your
a better
friends?
job.
I mean, do you know any parents, I mean, who go through phones to, like, who are you connected to? Who are these people, and what are they saying, and what are they about? I mean, I as a father of 5, I don't know if I've ever sat down and actually dove into that way and said, "Who are you actually connected to? And is this okay that you're actually getting their content?" Because there's probably a bunch of content I would probably likely not approve, right? And I'd be
Yeah.
like, "Oh, no, you're not following this, you're not doing that," like, it's crazy, and as parents, we're trying to give, some kids some autonomy and being able some room to learn, and at the same time, there's a danger in that.
It's a huge danger. I mean, what kids are exposed to is unacceptable. And we have to do a better job. And that's why youth sports is so important, is to give kids an escape from all that. As long as it's an escape in a positive way.
Yeah,
When you're dealing with potentially traumatic situations that kids are exposed to, or when they're trying to figure this stuff out, and then we as coaches come on in a negative way to them, are they going to head towards looking at the phone more? Are we going to I mean, is it going to be a more traumatic experience? So the process and the approach is so important. As you
yeah,
know, you can remember, I'll bet, growing up, the coaches that had a positive impact on you and the ones that you look back and say, gosh, I don't know, that dude
yeah.
didn't really help me a whole lot. And then
Yeah.
we try to use that information with our own kids and whoever we're coaching to try not to do what the guy that ruined our enthusiasm did. Um, it's now an even more difficult task as a coach because our kids are exposed to so much more.
Yeah.
So now when you think you're helping a kid, when you're hammering them to get better at this skill, get better at this skill, they might have something stuck in their mind that has nothing to do with sports that's slowing them down. So you got to be real careful on your approach with our
Yep.
young people these days. Um, I've got a perfect example. I had a young lady, sixth grader, come in, and she seemed a little off. And I like to go out there and take action and get kids involved in their sport and do a lot of skill work and what have you. As she seemed a little off, and I asked. It took me 5 times to ask her, "What's up? I can tell something's bothering you." She was going to get beat up the next day at school. She was told by one of her schoolmates, and that scared her.
Yeah.
So what's more important for me as a coach? Get her out there and dribbling like she's crazy, or dealing with that situation and
Yeah.
helping her get through that. So I think that's what we're losing a little bit with our phones and with our what these kids are exposed to. We're losing that personal touch
Yeah.
with kids. So
Well, and the adults are guilty. Like, we're
oh
looking at our own phones and not paying attention to the signs that these
yeah.
kids might need help, that something's up.
You know what a third grader said to me the other day?
Mm.
I have the same process at the beginning of every practice. They do a couple laps, and then they do a plyometric workout to get their light switch on, I call it, to be ready to compete. After that was done and we start our practice, one of the third grade girls says, "Coach, I have a question." And I said, "Yeah. Why are you asking us to do all this work while all the adults in the room are staring at their electronic devices?" This is a third grader asking me that question.
Yeah.
How could I answer that one? He said, they're not even
Yeah.
showing. I mean, and then now you add that in the youth sports world too. As you know, when you do something for the very first time, you are so excited as a
Yeah.
third, fourth grader, fill in the blank. You look up to get that acknowledgement, and your coach is staring at their phone. The parent, if there is one there, is staring at their phone, and they don't even notice.
Mm.
What is that telling our kids? Do
Yeah,
they
I mean,
care? Do they matter?
yeah, the actions are far stronger than the beliefs. Of course, everyone would be like, "Oh my gosh, it's so important that I see little Janie score her first goal," or, whatever, and they would say that, but the actions always don't equate to that, right? Like, you came out for the Saturday morning soccer game, and you saw 2 plays, and you knocked out, 55 minutes of social media,
Yeah,
right? And it's like,
amazing.
oh my gosh, like,
Yeah,
and it's a real thing. It's a real epidemic, and I don't know the answer. I don't know the answer other than the fact like individuals are going to start creating some rules around how much I'll actually use this and when. And it's probably not a bad idea to start building some family rules around that, like when you can and when you cannot utilize these things. And I think if we asked our kids, they would be like, "Hey, listen, if you come to my hockey game, I would really appreciate that you wouldn't be on your phone." Because I
yeah.
bet they would ask that, right? Out of the mouth of babes, right? They know. Like you're saying, third grade. What is that, like
Mhm.
7? I mean, like that's like they know, right? They
They know,
know.
they know. And the tough part is
Dang.
they're starting not to know because, if everybody does it, then it's the new normal. So, I mean,
Yeah,
what
you're
we're
right.
achieving out here isn't as important. But then again,
Mm-mm.
you can look at that from a competitive standpoint and say, if I'm a parent that really gets it and focuses on what's most important, and that's my child right in front
Mm.
of me. Boy, can you bypass a lot of people in the sports world, in the competitive world, and then in
Yeah.
the world of life. I mean, seriously. So,
Did you, as a parent, did you ever take your electronics away from your children, like at a week time or like at a extended period?
well, when my oldest son was young, what was big back then was one of those game consoles.
Yeah, Game
Uh,
Boy and yeah.
yeah, Game Boy, whatever. And you know what I did with that one time? Call me a bad person. He was stuck on that after school I noticed a few days he just wanted to be stuck on that thing and just look and look and look. And I got
Yeah.
ticked, and I grabbed that thing and I took it out in the yard and I stomped on it and threw it in the trash. One of my better moments. That's the mentality I have with that type of stuff that doesn't, I mean, it's good for relaxation a little bit,
Yep.
but
Yep.
okay, just another release. I don't mind that whatsoever, but we're not going to be on that thing 3 hours.
Yeah.
So, it's
Yeah.
become more of a challenge now because of everybody doing it. But
I have watched kids, especially when we do like youth group camps and stuff like that. Like, I have watched kids where phones aren't allowed, and they're in disarray the first hour. Like they are like, oh, I guess I'll sleep because
yeah,
I couldn't do anything without my phone. Like I couldn't talk to him, but then they find out they do start conversations, and yeah,
yeah,
these conversations on the bus, and I mean, I've seen personalities out of kids. I don't know what if they would have ever come out if we didn't take it away, and the interactions with other kids. And one of the things I wish we do more of in that, like kind of reflecting on this, is ask the kids at the end of a 5 or 6 day retreat, like, how do you feel about the interactions with your friends and this youth group and what you've accomplished? And you did a project together or whatever, and do you miss your phone? Like, how do you feel about you without your phone? They're gonna go like, "This was incredible." Like, I mean, I never even knew I could be friends with this person. I didn't know she liked me, and like, whoa, we got together. I've developed 3 or 4 friendships I never would have had, and like, right, like it's amazing. And we've watched it with all of our kids at some point, especially in those teen years. Like,
yeah.
nope, this is where we're going. It's a long weekend, and there'll be no phones. Like,
That's a must.
ah,
I was not long ago.
personalities, man.
I was not long ago. Now you got me fired up. I'm just saying,
Yeah,
Fred, you got me fired up. I was at a college recently talking to kids spending a lot of money on their college education, right?
yep,
I was introduced as a youth sports specialist by the professor in the classes, probably 35, 40 kids in the classroom. The professor, I'm looking out at the kids, and while the professor's talking, probably 80% of them have their laptops up, have something in their ears, or are looking at their phones, if not more. I might have one or two of them actually looking at what's happening.
yeah.
What do you suppose the old man from out in the middle of nowhere in Iowa said to him after he introduced me?
Put it all away.
I said it in a nice, friendly way. Get the crap out of your heads and
Yeah,
look up. I mean,
yeah,
this is where we're at. And I wonder if I asked each of the kids what the name of the person next to them was, if they would know.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
And I tease kids that are, we'll see groups of kids that are in here during an event, and they'll be sitting on the floor between games and they'll all be looking at a phone. And I said, well, rather than text the person next to you what you want to ask them or say them, just put the phone down and look at them and talk. You know,
It's a great exercise as I think about this. I'm gonna do more of this at the university. Like, raise your hand if you actually know the name of the person to your
do it.
left.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
I'll bet I'll get 2
yeah.
because I walked to class with him. Like, yeah, Byron's in my dorm, and we always walk to this class. Like, so I know Byron.
Yeah.
So I know, and he happened to sit on my left today, which is good because if he'd have been on my right, I'd have been hosed.
Yeah.
Like, and by the way, Byron scrolls because he is on my left and he doesn't know anybody after that, right? So he's not raising his hand for sure. So it's
Truth.
like, man, yeah, it's so good. All right. For everybody, thank you for joining us on the Winners Find a Way show with Gary Thrapp today, youth sports advocate, owner of Beyond the Baseline, author of Wide World of Sports, Developing Your Success Map, and the Freddie Loves Sports, Freddie Loves Basketball series. Very good. You can check him out at GaryThrapp.com, and you can reach him at GaryT@BeyondTheBaseline.net. So please reach out to him. For everybody else, like always, know that for me, on Leading Winning Teams is available on Amazon. Winners Find a Way is on every Thursday live, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific on LinkedIn Live, Leadership a YouTube channel, and of course our Facebook Live page. So we have that, and our podcast drops every Friday morning. Just giving you information from the top 1% who continue to figure some things out that maybe you have not figured out. If you want to see me directly, jump on my Calendly. Trent Clark is the forward and / 15 minutes. If you jump on my Calendly and want to get unstuck in your growth category, like, please do that. Happy to meet with you in a short stint. And I will also send you a copy of the book Flourish, which is our playbook for how companies grow and get unstuck and build sustainability. So for everybody else, thank you. And for everyone who always joins us, I love it. And winners find a way.